Started. Good evening, Littleton. Welcome to the August 23rd, 2023 Board of Health meeting. It is now 7 o'clock and we'll be beginning our meeting. Before we call our first public hearing, does anybody have any pressing matters we need to bring forward before we get started? I see none. I'd like to take a quick moment before we get started to thank the members of the board who've kept things going for the last two meetings. I apologize, I've been unable to be available for the last two meetings. I was making sure all of our scouts were safe, both locally and nationally at our jamborees and scout meetings. So I appreciate from my I apologize a little for missing our last two meetings, and I appreciate my fellow board members supporting while I was away and your support in managing things. I knew the town was in good hands. So it's good to be back. And let's get started with our first hearing. So our first public hearing is for 91 Hartwell Ave. We're going to be getting a presentation from Kevin Ritchie of Civil Solutions for a variance request to allow for fill to meet the requirements within 10 feet of a property line. Let's see. Civil Solutions, Kevin, one moment, sir. I'm promoting you to panelist. Good evening, Mr. Ritchie. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Ritchie. I'm here on behalf of Kevin Spur, the owner of 91 Hartwell Ave. Can you assume you can hear me? But something seemed kind of funny, so I wasn't sure.
No. That means there are four Kevins at the...
Okay. It's going to be a banner night then. So I'm here, Kevin Spur, 91 Hartwell Ave. He's in the process of selling his home. Had a failed Title V inspection. So we've been out, done some soil testing out there, designed him a new system. And I'm here tonight to request a couple of variances. Let's see if I can share my screen. So we've got the house here at 91 Hartwell Ave. There's an existing 1,500-gallon septic tank that was replaced a few years ago. An existing leach field here in the backyard. The front yard don't show any topography, but it's extremely steep down to Hartwell Ave. Is on town water. The backyard has been, it's steep up to the back, but it has been shaved down at some point in time, probably when the house was built. There's a fair amount of fill here in the side yard. And we dug multiple test holes. We had the groundwater, the furthest down here, closest to the property line in the fill. And then it rose up when we went into the natural material over here. So we're proposing to use a geomat, which is approved for a 2-foot reduction in the groundwater offset. It will be pumped, the system. So we're going to be proposed to reuse the existing 1,500-gallon tank into a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and then dosed into the to the geomat system. So I do see an error in my my letter here. I asked for approval for the use of a Presby for the groundwater offset, whereas in fact I should have asked for approval for the use of the geomat for the groundwater offset. So we're requesting to use the geomat with a 2-foot groundwater offset. So its worst case, it'll have the 2-foot offset here, but on this end of the system, we should have well over a 4-foot offset. And then obviously here in order to keep the system in the ground. We're trying to keep the system over the deepest area where the groundwater is the deepest over here. So we have a little bit of fill around the end of the system. And so we've asked for a variance to reduce the offset to a lot line with breakout grading fill from 10 feet. Kind of it in a nutshell.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. I'm going to ask Mr. Gareffi if you have any comments on the proposal, and then we'll work through the board and the butters.
Kind of a challenging site because, as Mr. Ritchie said, the front yard is pretty steep. The backyard has been sculpted out, so it's a little easier spot to put that in there. The geomat seems to work well in that site because the water table isn't real high because it's got some fill in the backyard, but with that low profile, able to keep it in the ground. The house is on a slab, so we don't have to worry about filling towards the house. The geomat also has the approval to be within 5 feet of a foundation. And I think at its closest point, it's 6 feet to a slab foundation. So there's no cellar underneath of it. There was a little bit of grading, as he was showing. It may come up a half a foot to about a foot there. So if we were to use anything thicker in system size, that would come up, probably a foot or more. Presby would jack it up a foot. A conventional system, maybe even more. So again, trying to find the best innovative system to fit the site and make it work. I think it's a reasonable solution to the failed system.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gareffi. We'll go to the board by my view anyway from the screen. So let's start with Mr. Wason.
Thank you. I'm assuming that the north end of the property, which is on the left edge of this map, is just because that's all steep and forested. Is that what's going on in the terrain over there?
Yes, correct. The bulk of the lot is, the whole lot's very steep from the back of the lot right down to the street. The back of the lot here is all forested, the side yard as well as the front. Really the only opening is in this flat plateau here just behind the house.
Okay. And then would there be a way to take that leach field and rotate it either 45 degrees or more so that it's more vertically aligned on this drawing, still between your brush lines and kind of over that 98 foot line to try to just get further away from the property line?
I think the reason we've got to rotate it here is basically in this test hole here, we had the groundwater at 7.5 feet. So the groundwater was definitely dropping as we went across the lot here. If we turned it and ran it this way, we'd have higher groundwater. In test hole 2, it was higher, and again in test hole 3, it was higher again. So basically, using the groundwater in test hole 3, which was 4 feet versus the 7.5 here.
And what was test hole 2?
Test hole 2 was 58 inches. So we really want to stay, I'd like to stay in the clearing and over the fill as much as we can. As we go back here, this has been artificially low, cut down. So probably one of the reasons we're closer to the groundwater. Somebody's already shaved off a portion of the original soil.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Davis.
Good evening. Thank you for working on this project. Are there any wells on this location? I know it's town water and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, so everything along here is serviced by town water.
Not everything on Hartwell, but
Right in this area.
okay. All right. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Baker.
I have no questions. I think you did the best you could with fitting it into a really tough lot. So as long as the butters are okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Okay, Mr. Fratellone.
The same, the same way. He did a good job. Good. He express everything just the way it's supposed to be. We wish him a good luck.
Okay, thank you, sir. I don't see any butters in the audience, but if you are in a butter for 91 Hartwell, if you'd like to raise your hand in the audience. I see no hands raised. I think at this point we can entertain a motion.
I
I
make,
make a motion. I beat you, Kevin.
that's fine. Go ahead. You finish.
I make a motion to accept. And give him whatever he needs.
Is your acceptance, Gino, to have the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet
Yeah,
with
4
a
feet.
geomat system and to have
Mhm.
filled within the 10-foot property line? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Kevin Davis,
Yep, Davis votes yes.
Gino Fratellone,
Yes.
Matt Wason,
Matt Wilson, yes.
and the chair votes yes as well. You have unanimous vote for the approval as proposed.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. And it looks like actually you're on for our next hearing as well, if you'd like to stay on. So we close the public hearing for 91 Hartwell Ave. We will open our 7:10 public hearing for 7 Dogwood Road. We'll have a presentation from Kevin Ritchie of Civil Solutions, Inc. for a variance request for a sewage disposal system upgrade design. Mr. Ritchie, whenever you are ready, sir.
All right, so. All right, so I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Brian McKeon. He's going to be he's the tenant at 7 Dogwood and is currently in the process of purchasing this house. It had a failed Title V inspection. Dogwood obviously is it's over near the lake. It's on the side of a hill here. The lower side of the hill here towards the lake, and it just kind of climbs all the way up to the top of the street. There's an existing septic tank here in the backyard, and some kind of cesspool or little leach pit here in the rear yard. So he does have a decent sized lot, so we're able to move the system from the rear yard and put it here kind of in the woods a little bit. We dug a couple test holes. We had groundwater at 30 inches, so it was too wet to run the percolation test. But we are proposing a new 1,500 gallon 2-compartment septic tank into a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and then we're going to pump the effluent up here to a leach field comprised of the Presby EnviroSeptic. So here, again, this property is on town water. We're asking groundwater reduction with the use of the Presby. This one is a Presby, not a geomat. We're asking to reduce the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet. And then, because it was too wet to actually run the perk test, we're asking for the permission to use the sieve analysis in place of the perk test. And then we are asking to reduce the requirement of a 12-inch separation from the inverts to the water table. And we'll probably be 6-inch offset from the inverts of the tank to the wall. So those would be the three variances or approvals we're asking for. Again, the groundwater offset from 4 to 2 with the use of the Presby, the use of the sieve analysis because of the dampness in the soil, and then a reduction in the offset from the inverts of the tanks to the groundwater, 12 inches.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Mr. Gareffi, any notes or comments on the proposal?
So again, this site will benefit from that groundwater reduction in that if they had to raise it up some more, that fill would get closer to the lot line and probably require additional variances. The area is all town water. It's probably, when we're out there doing the testing, probably at its seasonal high, given the rain we've had this past July. Again, I think it's a reasonable solution to the site. Fortunately, they have a big enough lot so that it doesn't have to encroach on the house, and they can keep it far enough away from the property lines to minimize that surface runoff issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gareffi. We'll go through the board. We'll do alphabetical. Kevin Baker.
What did the sieve analysis come back as?
Came back as a class 2 sandy loam. Yes.
That's about, is that 30 minutes an inch?
Yeah, so the application rate would be for 30 minutes an inch.
And do you have to step this down? Is that why you went with the Presby instead of a geomat?
Yes, because again, this one's on the kind of the grade across here is sloping. So the benefit of the Presby is we can step it. So this is step down the hill.
And you're just going to tuck that high vent next to that tree and paint it black and make it disappear?
Correct.
All right.
Hopefully.
Looks good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, Mr. Davis.
As usual, I'm not finding any major issues with the design. I think you did an awesome job. And it looks like the approved capacity on the print is for 2 bedrooms only. So we're not going to try to increase the size of the house afterwards. Okay.
That's correct. So the house is permitted as it's currently a 2-bedroom. If we were to increase the flow, we would not be able to ask for the sieve analysis or the groundwater offset.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Fratelloni.
No comment, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Wason.
So only because of SOPA land, any chance of moving the tank to the northern end of the house? Because it looks like the line just comes straight out to the tank, and could you run it that direction on the drawing to your left, which is north, right? Well, I only asked because would you be able to get the tank higher up, or are you stuck at that depth because of the outlet from the building?
And so the outlet of the building, it's a walkout now, and the existing plumbing comes out under the basement floor slab.
Okay.
So this gives us the straightest shot, which we prefer. It's a nice straight shot into the tank.
And then my other standard question is, you're asking for a less than 12-inch separation between the inlets, outlets of the tanks and the high groundwater. What is the separation going to be in this design?
That's 6 inches.
Okay. Sorry if you said that earlier and I missed it.
Nope, not a problem.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wason. I don't believe I have any other questions that hasn't already been addressed. This is not a butter one. I don't see any hands in the audience anyway. So I think at this point we can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the use of a Presby system to offset the groundwater from 4 feet to 2 feet, that the sieve analysis be used in place of a perk test, and to allow fewer than 12-inch separation between the inlets of the tanks to the high groundwater, and as documented on the plan, be no less than 6 inches.
I second.
We have a motion and second. Roll call vote. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis votes yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Gino Farone, yes.
Matt Wason,
Matt Wilson, yes.
and the chair votes yes as well. Motion carries. Should be all set, Mr. Ritchie.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, have a nice night.
You as well. All right. The public hearing for 7 Dogwood Road is closed. We're going to open our public hearing for 19 George Street, which is a continuation for our 7:20 public hearing. And give me one moment. I'm going to promote our petitioner. All right. Good evening, Mr. Green.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So,
for having me.
we're going to give you the first word.
I presented last week. Thank you for your time again. Last week, the main request was to get as-built documents for the house. As you probably see by the documentation, I could not uncover those anywhere. I did reach out to the town. I reached out to 2 past contractors that worked on the site. I reached out to the real estate attorney. I reached out to my attorney and my broker. I could not get any as-built documents for this house. What I did pull was I pulled everything I could find. Attached, you would have seen the appraisal report, which shows the amount of rooms. I also attached the online, basically profile of the house to show the amount of rooms. And I created my own documents. I know they're not professional architecture documents at all, but what I did was I took a measurement of every room in the house using a digital laser and a tape measure to confirm, and put together in an Excel document and transfer that to a PDF so that you could review those as well. From my perspective, it's listed as an eight room house everywhere. I believe that that's above grade, so it didn't include the basement. So the basement would be 9, and this proposed addition would be the 10th room. I know that the major consideration was the question about the kitchen, whether it was an eating kitchen or whether it was a kitchen and dining room. I hope the measurements help show that it is an eating kitchen. It is not a standalone room as it is. The floor is the same as the area, and the measurements are everything. So please feel free to ask any questions.
All right. Mr. Greffy, do you have any notes or comments for 19 George?
No, I mean, I guess, I think in my previous comments, it's a judgment call on the board's part. I mean, the system is designed for 4 bedrooms and it's fairly new. Was placed probably just before they bought the house. The board is allowed to grant variances. I mean, grant the deed restriction. It is just 1 room over. But again, there's a lot going on in the house. So that's why I asked them to come and present to the board.
All right. We'll go to the board. Mr. Baker, any questions?
No, Mr. Green, thank you for doing your due diligence and collecting all the information to the best of your ability. That really goes a long way, in my mind anyway. I can just see here that on the first level, it's on this sketch. This looks like, is this from the appraisal? They called it a breakfast area. So that would, in my mind, be an eat-in kitchen situation. So, my thought is it would be you're requesting a 10th room here. So that would be, something we would look at with a deed restriction. No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Davis.
The septic design, Jim, is for a 4-bedroom house.
Correct.
And if I'm looking at his sketch there, we've got a master bedroom upstairs and 3 bedrooms. And then is there a bedroom downstairs? Is that what I'm seeing? The BR in the front right corner? Is that what that is? So that's the fourth bedroom?
Mr. Green?
I apologize. In the sketch from which sketch?
It's called study in the latest drawing.
Oh,
Study.
Office.
oh, okay. Study, and then there's this BR next to it. Is that, am I seeing something? Is that my eyeballs not working?
On the drawings I did, those are two offices on the downstairs floor. I believe that there was some different drawings that might have had it in different ways across the documentation. And again, I tried to submit everything that was there. So some of this was outdated. When they did market the house, they did put it as a 3-bedroom, but there was some plans previously that looked at that first floor as a bedroom there, but it's not being used as a bedroom and not
Okay.
as a bedroom.
So we've got kitchen, living, study, family. Is the study in the BR a separate room or is it the same room? Trying to get a number of rooms here.
Yeah, so on the main level, there's the kitchen, the living room. Maybe you're looking at the bathroom. Maybe that
Nope.
would be okay. So
Nope.
then there's if you go around the house counterclockwise, it's the
Yep.
kitchen, then sort of the living room, the office. There's another office, which would be a living room, family room office, and then there's the bar area, which is attached to the screened-in porch. It's not really a big enough space for us to do anything else with it at this time, and so it's become a playroom/bar area as well.
Is there a wall between the family room and the bedroom area? Next to the study? So you got the study, office. Is there a wall between the bedroom and or office and the family room?
Yes.
Okay, so kitchen, living, study, or office, family room, screened-in porch. Is it heated and air conditioned?
It's not heated. Nope. So that's the 5 rooms on the main floor.
Okay, and then I count bedroom, master bedroom. That's 3 upstairs.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's 8. And then there's only one the finished room downstairs, the finished room. The storage doesn't have heat or air conditioning or anything like that in it?
Nope. No heat, no AC, no nothing. Unfinished area.
Just the finished area.
Yep. Just the finished area has a heat. There's no air conditioning either, but there's just heat in the finished area.
All right. Well, right. Fair.
Yep.
Okay. So then that I'm counting 9. Is that what everybody's seeing? Or is 5 plus 3 plus 1?
I'm counting 9 as well, and that's what I'm suggesting there is. And
Yeah,
this
I know. Hold on.
Sorry.
Sir. Matt.
There are 5 on the main floor: prayer,
Yep.
family, kitchen, dining, study.
Yeah.
There are 4 upstairs: bedroom, master bedroom. And then there's 1 in the basement, makes 10.
I'm only seeing on the appraisal sheet, I'm only seeing 3 bedrooms upstairs.
I'm looking at the drawing provided by the homeowner, second floor plan with measurements.
I think you may be
Matt-
looking
Matt-
at the next one.
5 Jillian. You're looking at 5 Jillian, Matt.
They all ran together. Sorry.
Scroll up.
Scroll up. So we got 5, 3, and 1 in the basement. I got 9. And if the septic is for a 4-bedroom house, then this fits that definition if I'm correct. Hold on, I'm wait. Matt's counting.
Sorry, I'm reading Jim's notes from last time. So one of the reasons we brought this back was because there was a discrepancy in the room count. And
Yeah,
Jim's
that's
say I arrived at a total of 10. So
yeah.
that's what I'm trying to reconcile.
And I think what we were doing was separating the breakfast area from the kitchen.
And the photos from last time when we looked at it, we said that's a kitchen and that's a dining room. That's 2.
Right. That's where we're getting into.
Because if you go around that drawing right there, then it's breakfast area, kitchen, bath, family, bedroom. Or, sorry, not bath. Breakfast area, kitchen, family, bedroom, study, living is 6 around there.
1, 2, 3,
Right.
4, 5. breakfast area, kitchen, bath, you don't count,
No, you don't count bath.
family. So that's 3 across the top. Bedroom/study, study, living. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you see 6. That's where you're saying there's 6.
That's 6. And the photo from last time that we looked at had, which I don't see in our packet. I'm trying to find it again.
It's in the previous packet.
Yeah, I'm looking at the previous packet, but I don't know. Maybe it was just shown to us instead of in the packet, which means it's not in the record.
Correct.
So all I have to go on is Jim's notes, and he's looked at information and it says 10. We looked at the photo last time and it did not look like a little just nook or a bar on the kitchen. It was a dining room based upon how we usually interpret it from my recollection.
Jim, Jim, have you been to the house?
I have not. I try to make it a rule not to go into houses because that means I'm trying to judge based on, and I always tell people that they're much better at presenting their house. You had some hand-drawn sketches from last time. And again, just looking at, I'm just pulling up the old email from the hand-drawn sketches. It looked like there were 3 bedrooms upstairs, which I think that sketch from the assessors, I think that's where that's from.
Yeah.
And
we're fine with that.
Yeah, and then downstairs were 2 offices, a bar, a living room, and then the question was: is the kitchen just a kitchen with a breakfast eating an area, or is it a kitchen dining room? And I guess that was the judgment call that the board would need to make.
And Mr. Chair, if I may.
Of course, sir. Go ahead.
I believe we spoke with the homeowner last time and determined that the square footage of the kitchen and the eat-in area was maybe somewhere around 200 square feet. So it wasn't very large, and it seemed to us like it was more of like an eat-in situation as opposed to, they did have a picture with a table in there. I don't know if it was a dining room table or breakfast table, but the square footage seemed to indicate that it was a rather small area.
Thank you, sir. Let's continue around and then we'll have a little further discussion if we need to. Mr. Fratelloni, any questions or comments?
No question, thank you.
All right. Mr. Wason, you talked a little bit, but do you have any other questions?
I guess you were describing that you took some measurements, but do we have those measurements of the individual rooms and spaces then?
Yes, on the attached document that says floor plans 19 George Street PDF, it has the sizes of every room in the entire house broken down. And the eating kitchen is the area that's 9 foot by 20 foot.
Am I missing that in the packet?
It's not
Members.
in the packet.
Oh, I apologize. It was emailed over. I can pull it up if you'd like me to, but I don't know if that's allowed.
No, please pull it up if you have it. That'd be great.
So this is the plan of the house that I created in Excel. These are 1 foot by 1 foot blocks. And as you can see, the top is the second floor, the middle is the main floor, and the bottom is the basement. I apologize, this was not in the packet.
Thank you for providing that. I think my opinion would still be in agreement with Jim that this counts as 10 rooms. That's a 180 square foot kitchen, big open space. And I think that's pretty large to be considered just one room. So based upon the photo from my recollection, and Jim, I would lean towards that being a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms on that main floor at this time. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Where is the addition going? Are you expanding your finished basement from the small space that was on the existing one to this larger 13 by 22?
Yeah,
Plus
so
something else?
no, the addition's actually going on the second floor. We're having another child, and so we're turning the primary bedroom into another bedroom so we can have our 3 children upstairs. And our primary bedroom, primary suite is going to go above the living room and eating kitchen. And we plan on putting in a bedroom, an additional bathroom, and a closet.
So that would make this house then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6-bedroom house on a 4-bedroom septic system. Because while you may be using the offices downstairs as offices, they are certainly adequately sized to be bedroom spaces and could easily be considered bedroom spaces. And without that, we're at either 10 or 11. The rule is divide by 2 and round down, but there's going to be 10 rooms or 11 rooms. We divide by 2, that gets us down to 5 rooms in a 4-bedroom system. Jim, I know it's usually round down, but if this area really isn't a round down because it's 10 divided by 2 is 5. There's nothing to round down to. If it was 9, it'd be 4.5 and we'd round down to 4.
Right.
So at 10, we're over. At 11, we are over as well. At 10, we can do deed restriction. At 11, we can't. So we're down to, is this eat-in kitchen 1 room or 2? The appraisal form that you submitted looks like it's dated. I'm trying to see what the date is on it. Showing up as tax year 2019. I'm not sure the date of the appraisal.
We purchased the house December 2019.
Okay, so it would be at that point.
Yes, I believe it was
That's
right.
fine.
Yeah.
It's like so many things that we do every day. It's perfectly clear until you actually try to look at it. The appraisal is showing 8 above grade. Your finished room in the basement would make it 9 by the appraisal. By us looking at it, the size of that eating kitchen could go either way. On numbers, I'm torn. I am concerned, certainly moving forward, that, no matter what the room count is, that we're looking at a potential 6-bedroom house that could easily be used as a 6-bedroom house with a 4-bedroom system. I'm going to ask Ms. Gareffi, am I off base having that concern from your professional experience? That, I mean, certainly we know the numbers of division and drop and all those pieces, but in practicality, I'm looking at a house that could easily be marketed and utilized, no matter what the deed restriction may say, as a 6-bedroom house.
So I think that's the purpose of the deed restriction. I mean, the code talks about, figuring out the way you do bedrooms once the house has more than 8 rooms. And so that calculation that you described, divide by 2 and round down, is generally what we stand with. I mean, particularly since COVID, people have all kinds of additional rooms. And you can see the double offices, people are working at home. So it's different than we've had in the past, only because I think people's lives are different than they were in the past. So at this point here, and I know this is going to sound strange the way I say it, but if somebody presented a plan that showed 5 bedrooms, I'd tell them no. Somebody presented a plan with the rooms the way they are, then I would say you could talk to the board about a deed restriction. Because again, depending on the realtor, we see real estate listings that might list this as a 6-bedroom, but put an asterisk there. And at the very bottom, there's one particular realtor, in not a local one, but a major name, that has a little asterisk on that. And then you read down the bottom, it says, verify with your local board of health or something like that. So, yeah. So, but again, I think the deed restriction is the way to regulate and the way to kind of make sure that anyone who buys the house knows what the house can be used for.
All right, I'm going to open it up to the board.
I have a
I
question.
see lots of hands. Okay, let's, I saw Mr. Davis's hand first. I'm sorry, Matt. So we'll start with Mr. Davis.
I have a question. Do the offices on that bottom floor, is that rectangle that's in the middle there, that's a 2-foot rectangle by, I forget how many, whatever, is that a closet?
It is the closet.
It's a closet that goes to each room. So those can be defined as a bedroom per the Title 5 specification then, can they not, Mr. Gareffi?
So good thing about Title V, closets don't count. Yeah, that's, people say that all the time, but it doesn't have a closet. And it's
Okay.
like, it doesn't have to for
Right.
Title V. Yeah.
If it does have a closet, does that make any, so I can say it's not a bedroom because it doesn't have a closet, but if it does have a closet, is that weighing it more towards a bedroom use or not? I know we're trying to slice things really thin here, but I just want to see if there's a way of getting there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the Title V, the definition of bedroom doesn't discuss closet at all. And all of you who own houses realize, particularly as you have more kids, you have less space to store stuff. So all of a sudden, people build extra rooms in the house and they have no place to store it. They gotta have a shed, they gotta have, it's crazy. But, yeah, so the closets don't really come into play for Title V.
All right, Mr. Wason, I believe you had your hand up.
Yeah, do you mind if I show the photos just from Redfin of this property to help us out? Any objection?
I don't have any objection. Any members of the board have any objections?
No objection.
Mr. Green, is that
we're
okay
good.
with you?
Yes.
The only one thing I want to say is that, I think the town's got this as an 8-room house on the property card. And forever it's been, you go from the property card, and I appreciate Mr. Green and his honesty and his drawings and his due diligence and coming in and doing this. But, forever we go off the property card, and I don't know if it's our job to really dig in and do detective work. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, sir.
I'm fine to look at pictures too.
So this obviously, I assume from whenever it was last sold, but I just wanted, this is the standing in the family room, living room area. And there's the dining area we're talking about, and the kitchen is back behind that wall. So that's the kind of space that we're talking about. And I appreciate what Mr. Davis is saying. I'm not accustomed to us looking at property cards like this, and maybe that's something we should include in our process. I think it's not just about Mr. Green's homeowner. I'm just more worried about the precedence of lots of people come to us with open spaces and open floor plans, and we strictly tell them, no, we're counting these rooms as such, and that's a dining room. That's this. Sorry, I stopped sharing, but Redfin does list this as a 4-bedroom house. That's probably Kevin Davis's point, that it's because there's that closet in one of those first floors. So the real estate side can say, oh, look, it's a 4-bedroom. I don't really care about that. I'm just trying to look at that main room count and the precedent setting. If we're going to say, well, where do we draw the line between a nook and a dining room, and are those two different spaces?
Yes,
Is it okay
Mr.
if I
Green, go
respond?
ahead.
I apologize. Just in response, Matt, one of the things, if you look at those photos, you can see that the door is actually right into that dining room area that you're describing, or the kitchen, or the eat-in kitchen, whatever wording you want to use. We couldn't even put a full table in there. The table in the photos, and again, I didn't Photoshop anything. I didn't try to do a wide angle photo. I didn't try to do anything special. The table that's in there is a very small table for that purpose. And I completely understand, and I completely understand the precedent setting. What I would note is look at those photos, especially if you're looking at Redfin, and you'll see where that door is located. You couldn't even put a full dining room table in there if you wanted to, because of where the door is and how the space is angled. It's only 9 feet wide, and the 3-foot door is completely in that space. You couldn't even get chairs on both sides if you put a regular sized table. I apologize to interrupt if that was not appropriate. I just wanted to share that.
All right. Any other discussion from the board? Mr. Baker.
The town also has it as a 4-bedroom, just so we know, with 8 rooms.
All right, looks like discussion has concluded. I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Baker,
I'll make a motion to approve the addition with the deed restriction.
Which says,
This house is to remain a 4-bedroom house in perpetuity. Unless a septic upgrade is done.
that means so that means right now the house as is, according to the property card, is at 4 bedrooms.
And according to the septic too.
Yep.
Yeah.
if I may, I think so. The question there, if it's already at 4 bedrooms and we put a deed restriction for 4 bedrooms, their request is to add a 5th bedroom. So that would be automatically in violation of the deed restriction. I think that is where Mr. Davis was going with that question. If I can read through that, if that was.
That is
Okay.
exactly where that is going.
So you're
Okay.
saying they have to take down the wall between the 2 offices, Kev?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Oh, okay.
I'm going
But
just off the I'm going off the property card math, right? Property card says 4 bedrooms, right? And then if they add another bedroom upstairs, that's 4 bedrooms upstairs, and there's that other bedroom that's downstairs on the main floor. So we're adding a 5th bedroom to that.
Well, as the last part of the building permit inspection process, the assessor comes in and takes a look around and counts the bedrooms.
Yeah, I know. I'm having real problems.
I think we all have the right spirit here, and Mr. Green, I apologize for the discussion. I mean, I certainly think what you're trying to do is reasonable in theory. We're just trying to make this work by the rules, work by the property card, and work for you the best we can. So there's lots of competing interests here. So I think the proposed right now it is listed if we're going to use the property card as our starting point for room counts. The property card shows 8 rooms above grade, and there's a 9th in the basement and 4 bedrooms. So if the addition is adding a additional bedroom, that if doing nothing other than looking at the property card as it or the appraisal, but it sounds like they match, would make this a 5-bedroom, 9-room above grade, a 10th room in the basement. So a deed restriction to make this a 4-bedroom. I guess I'm just trying to figure out how that would accomplish the goal of using the property. If we're using the appraisal and the property guide to go by room count to say, yeah, we're adding a 5th bedroom, but it's not really a 5th bedroom because one of the other ones isn't really a bedroom. I just, there's a bit of a dichotomy between using it for room count, but not using it for bedroom count. It seems a little bit challenging to be consistent. So, I mean, I think that's where Mr. Davis went, and I kind of agree. It's hard saying you're limited to 4 bedrooms, but the property card already says 4 bedrooms. How do you approve an additional bedroom be built in a house we just said can only have 4 bedrooms and it's listed at 4 bedrooms?
Mr. Chair.
If we say it's 5 bedrooms, then it's overcapacity for the system, right? Because it's a 4-bedroom system. No matter what your room count is, if we're calling this a 5-bedroom house, then by definition it's over. Again, I'm going to refer back to Mr. Gareffi as a piece, but if this is designated as a 5-bedroom house with a 4-bedroom septic, no matter what our room count is, it wouldn't be, would it be, or would it not be in compliance, Mr. Gareffi?
So I guess one of the things we ask in part of this process is to get plans from the applicant. And the purpose for the plans is to be able to put them in the file so that along with the deed restriction, we have on record what the board approved for the use of the house. And again, the assessors look at, because there's a lot of properties in a lot of towns where because of the difference in the way the assessors look at properties and the way the Board of Health looks at it, strictly by the size of the septic system, we often find records are incongruent. So in this case here, when somebody's doing something anew, having the records, the house plans in the file, somebody comes in and says, no, it's always been a 5-bedroom, pull out the record saying, nope, it was planned for 4 bedrooms, spaces were offices. Having the deed restriction, I think that kind of marks the intent of what the house was. I don't know what the assessors would do with it. I don't really know. But in this case here, a lot of times we use the assessor's records as a starting point because none of us have been in the house. That's a public record that anybody can look at. So it provides kind of the maximum transparency. But I think as people are adding to it, having the sketches in the file of the Board of Health officer, in this case here, they'll be uploaded on the OpenGov system. I think everybody knows what the board approved and what the house can be used for. Deed restriction helps at time of transfer. So, if they go to sell for something more than what it is, or if it's marketed for more than that, hopefully the real estate attorney picks up on the fact that, no, in fact, there's a deed restriction and it's a 4-bedroom house.
Okay. So Ms. Baker, there was a motion, no second, but so the motion is still out there that if we do, and again, I think for the board, if the motion goes through with a deed restriction for 4 bedrooms, that basically any 2 rooms that could potentially be a bedroom would have to be considered not bedrooms for sales. And I would think from the assessor side, but again, that's not our piece of it. But the assessor would, as part of that process, I would think, look at the deed and see there's a deed restriction and take that into consideration as in their process. Yes, Mr. Baker.
Jim, do you know if there's room for an additional leach line?
There is not.
And is there anything to do on the septic end of things that could make the existing system more efficient to accommodate?
Again, the lots in that neighborhood are pretty small, and that system kind of maxes out the yard. It's a good sized system. It's very large. So it's not, I mean, it's a good big leach field.
All right, we still have a motion on the floor. No second at this point. It's a pleasure of the board. I'm not seeing a second, but it looks like Mr. Davis has a comment.
Yeah, so I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So if we say that this is limited to 4 bedrooms, period, end of statement, that means that the appraisal sheet, the first floor would have to go study, or whatever rooms they want to call them. And then we'd only still have a 4th bedroom upstairs. That means the upstairs, when they get to building it, would only have the 4 bedrooms upstairs. That's what we're getting to.
And I think that's the importance of the plan that they submit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the crux at the moment. So is it possible to build a additional bedroom with that deed restriction, with the understanding that in this process, those other 2 non-bedroom bedrooms are officially not bedrooms?
Can you call that out in a deed restriction that these other rooms are not bedrooms?
I think the standard document we use is, it's a big, long legal document from DEP, but it essentially in the front page says the house can be used as no more than 4 bedrooms in it. So it doesn't really talk about anything else in the house. I mean, so it gives the board kind of maximum flexibility here to say, hey, look, we understand that houses will have dens and these days media rooms and gyms and all manner of rooms that, people use in their house. So
I guess my call on this is that if assuming that the kitchen, because of the door, you can't put a table and it's really not a usable 19 by 9 space, right? So the door is causing less usable space in that area. It's really, what is it? 16, I'm doing math and it's late at night, 15 by 9, 10 at that point for a kitchen. I'm trying to wrap my head around it and make it work. And the only way that I can make it work is that if that bedroom, like the notes that we're talking about right here, get put into some sort of thing. So it says, look, the bedroom's going to get moved upstairs officially when the room is built or something like that. Cause that's what, Mr. Green, that's what your intent is not to have, is to have a room upstairs. Is that correct?
Yeah, the intent 100% is to have the 4 bedrooms upstairs. We have a 11-year-old, a 3-year-old, and one on the way in October. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, we've discussed options, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but we're trying to make it so all 4 of us can be on the same floor because not even some of the older children aren't comfortable with that. So we're looking at options, and this is really the only option that we've been able to come up with. At some point, we've actually discussed making that back room, the office, if we don't need it as an office, actually making that into a dining room in the future. But at this point, we need the offices. I mean, well, I work on the road, and I use my home office probably about 3 days a week during the day and then at night. And my wife works as an office manager for a landscaping company, and she works 100% remote. So, and I'm on the phone all day, and so is she. So we just can't really share the space, and being out in the common area of the house working isn't always the easiest. So like Jim mentioned, during COVID, that changed entirely. And that's sort of the intent here and the purpose and how we use the house. And I'd have no problem with any restrictions saying anything about 4-bedroom. I can tell you very confidently, we're not moving out of this town until all of our kids are out of high school anyway. So I'm not concerned with that personally at all. But no, the purpose is to have all 4 bedrooms on the same floor, on the second floor, to make for comfort, safety, and really to allow for that to be the living space for all 4 of us, or all 5 of us.
Then I will second Mr. Baker's motion to have a deed restriction that lists 4 bedrooms.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Davis,
Mr. Davis votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni,
Mr. Ferroni, yes.
Mr. Wason,
Now, Wason, no.
and chair votes yes. So it passes. Good luck.
Thank
Mr.
you all
Green,
very much.
thank you for your work on this. It's I hope you understand that we're doing our best as well, and we want to make sure we do the right thing by you, but also by the rules in the town and everything else. So I appreciate your patience and your work on this.
No, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
If I can make a comment, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
I think we need to be really careful about using owner intent as a reason to make a decision, because Jim has always preached, and I've always agreed with it, and we've always said it, it's not about the current owner, it's about the lifetime of the home and protecting the property. So that is a 5-bedroom house now. That is how it is, because that's how a realtor is going to look at it, because there's a closet and a bedroom and every single one of those, it's a 5-bedroom. So I just think I would ask, I don't think we've ever really done that much of it. Like, well, what are you going to use it for? Because people have asked for, gymnasiums in the basement that we've said no to, that don't really relate to having somebody sleep there. And so I think that makes me a little uncomfortable in this situation. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out there.
Nope. Thank you, sir, for your comments. All right, Mr. Green, I'm just going to remove you from the panel. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Have we ever gone back and started to look as a board the definition of room sizes? I know we talked about this like 2-3 months ago to come up to something that is a more universal way of counting rooms. Mr. Chair?
One moment. Can I ask Brenda, could you bring Mr. Green back either through the attendee list or out of the meeting? Thanks, Brenda. I know Mr. Davis, I'm sorry about that. I know in the past we've tried to come up with a definition that's clear and consistent, and we've had, it looks like we have a number of different potential rules looking at it. it's not like in the past we've had more than a certain number of square feet, then it's considered more than one room, even if it's an open area. It's been in user intent, not necessarily user intent, but if I've got, my house, my first floor has no real doors, but it is very clearly multiple rooms, but if you can walk clearly through from my mudroom, kitchen, dining, or eat-in kitchen, living room without really going through a meaningful thought of wall passageway. It is clearly 3 rooms. So we've tried to come up with a way of looking at that, and I don't think we've ever found a consistent definition in any of the rules out there. And certainly Mr. Greffy looks at these things every single day. So I know we have talked about trying to come up with what is a town of Littleton, standard. We have not, I think, finalized what that would look like. I'm not sure how we'd also finalize that is as an applicable document. I think we could come up with some guidelines, but again, almost every one of our meetings is not looking at bylaws. It's not looking at stuff. Almost every one of our meetings is looking at variances because there's always something that doesn't fit into the text. So I'm certainly would entertain if we want to try to come up with a standard so that we can be as consistent as possible in a world of inconsistencies, particularly in homes and room sizes and room designs. And, I grew up in a house with 9 rooms. They were all 8 by 8 and all had doors because that's what it was. And I now live in a house that also has 8 rooms and is probably 4 times the size of it and has, other than bedrooms and bathrooms, has no doors. So it's all, it's how do you come up with something that can cover both of those pieces? How do we look at the lake and how do we look at, Green Needles and David and Gray Farm and all those houses who may have similar room counts as houses on the lake, but obviously are very, very different experiences. Again, I don't know what the best option is, but I'm certainly happy to try to come up with something that we can use consistently. And if we need to vary from that at time to time with good rationale, then that's perfectly reasonable as well. I'm not sure what our best starting point is. Again, most of the regs don't really look at it that way. I don't think, Mr. Greffy, there's much out there looking at other than minimum room sizes. I don't think I've ever seen much for maximum room sizes. And as we'll talk about, we have Dogwood coming back up as minimum ceiling heights and minimum sizes for habitable spaces and egresses and all those great things. I don't think I've ever seen anybody have someone say that I've got a 40-foot by 40-foot room. Is that one big room? Maybe. Or is it 15 rooms without walls? How do you, depend on how I arrange my furniture, or is it a big, huge garage open space and that's one big room? That piece, I'd never seen anything official out there as guidance.
So Title V doesn't really get into room sizes. The housing code talks about it, but the room sizes are more related to habitability and how many square feet you need per person in the house. So not so much based on room size. I mean, it's to your comment about 8 rooms, but they're all 8 by 8. Same thing. There's many. I grew up in similar size houses. There's lots of little ranches that probably 3-bedroom ranches that are 800 square feet, and it's. We like more space now, and I don't know how you reconcile the two. I guess the only saving grace is, Title V looks at bedrooms and they look at the design flow is based on 2 people per bedroom. If you have 4 or 5 people in there, you're probably still under the flow that's going to that system at this point. So, and hopefully, you have the electronic system now. Hopefully, all this stuff gets uploaded. So anybody who's looking at this house is looking at plans and documentation. So when the building permit comes through, we'll document the fact that it can only have 4 bedrooms, needs to remain that, and has a deed restriction on it.
Mr. Baker.
Our local regulation 13, which was repealed in 2009, stated that any room, where is it here? Any room other than a kitchen, dining room, or living room in excess of 300 square feet that meets the definition of a bedroom shall be considered 2 rooms. So there's language there. And I can forward this all to the board, and maybe we could take a look at discussing it at some point.
Okay, thank you, sir. I was gonna say it'd be certainly interesting to see the historical memory of 14 years ago of why it went away at that point and how long what the what prompted them to create it at some point prior to 2009, and then in 2009, what prompted them to
I
remove
would
it.
love to have that discussion because I know my house is designed for a 6-bedroom house. So
So there was a point in time where the board's regulation also said that if you had 6 rooms in a house, it was a 3-bedroom. If you had 7 rooms, it was a 4-bedroom. If it had 8 rooms, it was a 6-bedroom. So your house is an example of when somebody comes in these days, wants to finish the basement, I can look at it and says, oh, it's 6 bedrooms. Go ahead and do what you want. I mean, there was a time where the board had that regulation a number of years ago, I think prior to when I got to, in town. So
yeah,
more than 17 years ago.
I was going to say, because right now I can have 13 rooms in my house without a deed restriction. Okay. Sorry.
All right, so we're going to kind of combine here 2 pieces. I have Attorney Gould with her hand up, so let's see if we can make this a nice transition of hopefully it's regarding this topic, and then we can move on to our next hearing. So Attorney Gould, hopefully you'll be coming up. While she's coming to the panel, Mr. Wason.
Yes, please, if I may. We've talked about this topic a number of times. I would just like that
Okay.
ask that our comments stay on topic and we don't get involved in personal opinions or any judgment statements or anything like that. I feel like some of our discussions have gone that way, and I feel I apologize for not maybe stopping some of them sooner. So I would ask that we stay objective and focused on the health issues at hand and just get through this as smoothly as we can, please.
Thank you, sir. Attorney Gould, welcome to the Board of Health meeting. Do you have a comment for this before we move on to our next public hearing?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. We can.
Good evening to the board. I'm sorry, Mr. Wason, did you just make a comment about this proceeding because I wasn't in yet?
Yeah, I can speak for him for the moment. He was making a administrative comment of just for the board to stay facts-based the best we can.
Okay, I've been told by the contractor that everything has been completed. Mr. Murphy told me he was going to try to go out. I don't know if he had a chance to, and he's here tonight.
Okay, hold on one moment. So we have closed our public hearing for 19 George. I'm going to open the 7:30 public hearing for 37 Dogwood. We have Attorney Gould online for that. So I'm sorry, Attorney Gould, go ahead. Sorry, we thought you had your hand raised for the previous discussion.
Oh, no,
So
I'm
the floor
sorry.
is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just waiting. Mr. Murphy told me he was going to have an update for you tonight, so I'll wait and let him go first.
Mr. Greffy, is that okay with you?
Sure. So the contractor did call me on Monday. I was away on vacation last week, so no, I have not got to the unit because I'm trying to play catch up at the beginning of this week. He told me he's addressed the minor. We have a small list of things that were remaining. He tells me he's addressed, I think, probably 3 of the 5. 2 of them, one of them requires the variance for the ceiling height. The other one is the basement, which I'm not sure quite how that's going to be addressed. The last time we were there, there's a sump pump in it, but I think as I've described to the board before, it's an old cottage that's built into the hill. So the front end of it is almost sitting on dirt. Water does come in from the septic system side of it, or at least the last time I was there, comes into the basement. So, it makes for a moist basement. But there are the other 3 variances. The other 3 items. Contractor said he corrected. I just need to get out there and take a look at them. I will this week. I just couldn't to this point in the week. So.
Attorney Gould, do you have any other comments before we open up to the board?
Just about the basement. Almost Our properties in Littleton have basements, and they're treating it with state-of-the-art sump pump. It's a dirt basement. It's not habitable space. It's not being used for storage. And it is partially dirt, so I think it's pretty common in Lake area and other places. My house included that there are damp basements with sump pumps. The other issue on the ceiling height is I told this board last time and sent some materials in writing that I don't believe that the variance is necessary. We have the letter from the building inspector that says it predates code. And I quoted a section of the variance ability of the Board of Health. It really reads that you can't give a variance over something that another board has jurisdiction over. And that's the other board. When we were here at the last meeting, Mr. Chair, you suggested that you were going to reach out to town council about this issue. And so I've been sort of standing by waiting for them. I did reach out myself to town council's office to let them know that I would like to be heard on this issue with the bylaw. I sent the materials that Mr. Griffey sent me, but properly town council said they can't answer me as a taxpayer. They can only answer your board. So I was hoping that you could reach out to them and get an answer on that. But you know, as an attorney, I'm saying, I think I could argue that if your board has no ability to grant the variance, it seems redundant to apply for a variance that you can't grant.
All right, you were a little broken up, but I think I'm going to try to paraphrase this to ask to make sure we understood. So we had the comment regarding the basement, dirt basement. Many houses in Littleton have dirt basements, have wet basements with sump pumps. And the other comment was regarding the ceiling height, a letter that it was predating code, that it is, by your opinion, under the building commissioner, and therefore the Board of Health does not have authority to grant a variance. And we are waiting for town council. I've redouble checked that I have not seen anything from town council. I will say I was away for a few weeks. I will ask Mr. Wason as our vice chair, did I miss any emails from town council? But I just did a quick search and I have not seen. And we did make the request from town council on their opinion. We have not gotten a response from them as well. So I would say at this point, we have a few things before us. We have one, the open items that it sounds like from phone discussions have been addressed. Just needs our agent, Mr. Griffey, to actually verify that. I'm certainly okay accepting on my side or personally, but we can open up to the board. Certainly we trust his opinion. That's why he's our agent to do that inspection and provide feedback back to the board of whether those pieces have been met or not. As far as the authority to grant variances, I think there is some question because, like many things, that there are multiple boards who can sometimes have different authorities over the same issue and item. And it does appear that while the building commissioner has building pieces, there is also habitability in those pieces that potentially fall under the Board of Health as well. So again, as one board may grant a variance, doesn't necessarily mean all boards will grant a variance if it's looking at their own pieces of bylaws or state regulations. But again, I think we need to wait for town council's opinion on that one of how best to proceed, just so that we are being consistent, following the rules and regulations as best we can, while also staying in the focus of what the Board of Health's charge is. I'm going to open up to the board, see if anyone else has any questions, comments, feedback, or concerns. I'm going to start with Mr. Baker.
Thank you for the verbal that everything's been completed, and we look forward to the punch list being verified that it's complete by Mr. Griffey. In regards to the ceiling height, I did see the letter from the building commissioner stating that it was in his jurisdiction. And yeah, I guess we'll wait for town council to determine if the Board of Health needs to weigh in on a variance, or if predating code is sufficient to let that remain the way it is. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Davis.
I echo Mr. Baker's comments, so I am all set.
Mr. Fratelloni.
I concur with Mr. Baker.
Mr. Wason.
Same thing, nothing further.
All right. And from the chair, I think, as I said, we will look for Mr. Greffy's final inspection report for those last few items. And I think the only outstanding item at the moment would be that ceiling height waiver jurisdiction question, which is probably at this point best answered, as we said, from town council. I will follow up with town council and share with the board and request that town council share anything they have as soon as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. I apologize. I'm making notes.
I'm not a ma'am. No, just kidding.
You're a pretty lady.
I apologize, Attorney Gould. I'm just
Thank you.
making notes.
You don't have to say attorney either. Thank you.
All right. I think at this point, I'll accept a motion to continue this hearing until we hear back from town council. I think it's probably the best choice, unless the board has other thoughts.
So moved.
May I, pardon me for interrupting, may I request and suggest, if town council concurs with me, can we by letter call it a day? And if he doesn't, I would expect to be filing pro forma the variance request and hope this board can see their way clear to granting it in view of the fact that it's a grandfathered property. So either way, I think if town council concurs with me, it's over. And if he doesn't, I'll just be filing a paper pro forma request, I imagine, so it gets into the record. Not that I mind seeing you every 2 weeks, but
Does the board have an opinion on basically granting action to the authority of town council, or do we want an opinion from town council so this board can exercise its duly charged regulatory authority to either grant the variance or not grant the variance, or acknowledge that it is outside of our scope and therefore close the public hearing as moot? Would the board choose to hand over its authority to the town council in this matter, or would you like to have it stay with the board?
Stay with the board.
Okay, so we will, I believe we had a motion for continuance. I don't think I heard a second. I'm not positive.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Davis,
Mr. Davis votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni,
Mr. Ferroni, yes.
Mr. Wason.
Matt Wason, yes.
Thank you, sir. And chair votes yes. We'll continue the hearing pending and looking forward to receiving Mr. Greffy's report, as well as town council opinion for the open matter on jurisdiction and applicability of the regulations for this facility, or this, excuse me,
any next meeting day?
home. One moment. Our next scheduled meeting should be Wednesday, September 13th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good night.
All right, so we are continuing the public hearing for 37 Dogwood to our next scheduled meeting. And I'd like to open the meeting for 5 Jillian Way, reopen the public hearing for 5 Jillian Way, request approval for a finished attic to be used as a study. And I'm going to promote our petitioner.
Sorry, can you hear me?
We can. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. And thank you so much. First, I want to thank the board for all your hard work. I've been patiently listening, and I really appreciate everything you do. I'll start by thanking Jim Garaffi, because he's been my guide throughout this process, and very much like the other gentleman here, I'm here to request the board for approval for our attic to be converted as study. We have 10 rooms in the house. I want to be very clear. The first floor has 5 rooms. And Mr. Chairman, I often wondered why it doesn't have doors. I'm glad that there are other homes without doors. So the first floor has 5 rooms. The second floor has 4 bedrooms. And at some point, I guess somebody must have finished the basement. I don't understand why the property card doesn't show it. But the property card shows 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. And with the attic, it will be 11 bedrooms. The septic system is built for 4 bedrooms. We have no intention of converting the attic into a bedroom. We don't have closets anywhere in the house except in our bedrooms, and nothing on the first floor, nothing in the basement. So only the second floor has closet space, and the attic will not have closet space. It's just one room to be used as a study for my husband. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, Mr. Gareffi, any feedback, input, questions, comments, concerns, comments?
No, I mean, again, we're at the same spot. We get a house that they want to use, they want rooms that they can use for other purposes. 4-bedroom septic system, 4 bedrooms shown on the plan, other rooms that are in place. Again, it's how you want to view these things. Again, plans are important to have in the file so that you can document what was approved, along with the deed restriction to make sure that, you know, anyone purchasing the property, I mean, those are really the protections. And again, that's what I think kind of protects the property going forward. Again, people are going to use the houses the way they're going to use the houses. There's really no way of stopping that. But again, the documentation I think is important about, you know, what's there, what it has been called. I mean, clearly, if somebody came to me with something that had 5 bedrooms, I would say no, because they can't have that. But people have dens and studies and offices these days. So again, it's what the board would feel comfortable with.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I've also contacted an attorney to start the process of a deed restriction.
We'll circle through the board. We'll go reverse order this time. Mr. Wason.
Thank you for providing us with some drawings per our request and working with Jim. That's just the kind of information we need that confirmed what we thought. I look at it as, yes, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms on the main floor, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the upstairs floor currently, and a finished basement, making a total of 10 current rooms. Just curiosity, are there already windows in the attic space?
Yes, we have 1, 2, 3 small windows.
Okay. But those are just windows onto the unfinished space?
Yeah. So our attic is a walk-up attic. It's not a pull-down attic. You can actually walk up the stairs to the attic.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's, so we're at 10 and asking for an 11th, it sounds like. So that's all.
Can't hear anybody?
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Looks like Matt's all set. Mr. Fratelloni?
Well, so the shed, so what she wants actually, she wants to put another bedroom?
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely not. We don't need another bedroom. We have enough bedrooms to roll around and we just need a
Okay.
study.
okay, you need a study. Well, it says, any restriction?
Yes, we are going to put a deed restriction on it. I've already contacted a lawyer.
Okay. So I pass over to another individual. She
Mr.
answered my
Davis.
question.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through the room math again. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms on the first floor, right? Everybody agrees to that. We got 4 rooms upstairs.
That's correct.
It's 9. So we're already at our first point of 8. What is it? 8 plus the 1 is good to go. The basement makes the 10th room, right? So that would be our maximum deed restriction already met, is that 10th room in the basement. So we are done. The way I'm looking at it's everything that I'm here right now, that's where I'm at with this count. So I'm sorry, but that's the 11th room would be setting a lot of precedent.
Yes, true.
So that's my comment. I'm really sorry.
All right, Mr. Baker.
I concur with Mr. Davis. Fortunately.
After our previous discussion, while it is not gold standard, I am just taking a quick peek at the property card.
Restriction.
I'm looking at our town property card, and it's showing 8 rooms, 4 bedrooms. So I'll be honest, I am not sure the date of this card, if that's including that basement or if they're only counting above grade rooms. But I admit I'm also still trying to figure out how they got to 8 with the floor plan that we have seen. Anybody has any thoughts on that? I would appreciate it.
I can't make math. I can't. I'm adding numbers. I'm just. There's 5 on that first floor. There's 4 upstairs because it's a 4-bedroom house. I'm betting the property card wasn't updated when the prayer room was added or that other room was added.
As you say, that the space, the 12 by 12 space that's listed as prayer room, was that an addition? Do you know, ma'am, was that there when you purchased the house?
Oh, yeah, it was there. Everything that is
Okay,
there
I'm just-
today was there. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just asking the question because
Yes. Yeah. We haven't done anything to the house. Nothing at all. This is our first project.
and the plan on the property card is not particularly useful, so it doesn't really give us an understanding of how they approached this. But I think looking at, I from my opinion, again, still it's opinion, but I kind of agree with the math that we've seen looking at the count, which looks pretty clear that we have 5 plus 4 plus 1 in the basement is 10. This would make 11 on a 4-bedroom system. I'm not sure how to make those numbers work. And I went going to the assessor card, seeing if that would help us clarify. But I'm not sure how they arrived at that number because that appears significantly inconsistent with what we're seeing. I apologize. I'm going to be honest, just from my perspective, I'm not sure how we make this work.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Of course.
So if the sewer system is upgraded, can the house then be a 5-bedroom house? Just asking. I'm not saying we're going to do it.
Yeah. So at this point, what we are looking at is the adequacy of the septic system to support the size and potential residents in a dwelling. So that is our piece. So really, do we care about room counts? The only perspective I believe, and Mr. Greffy as our agent, correct me, when we're looking at room counts, the only thing we care about is there adequate water and sewer? Water is generally easy if you're on town water. Is there adequate sewer to support the potential residents of the dwelling? So yeah, if you have a 12-bedroom septic system, you can have a very, very big home. And as far as we're concerned, it would never come before us, because Mr. Greffy's going to look at it going, you've got a 12-bedroom septic system and you've got a 3-bedroom house. You can build to your heart's content as long as it meets zoning and building code and all those other pieces. But as far as the Board of Health concern would be, is there adequate septic or sewer to meet the expectation? I'm not suggesting you go add to your system, but Mr. Greffy, I mean, that really is, I think when we look at that is our concern. When we look at room counts, does the system meet, is the house adequately supported for the size?
Sure. And so sometimes one of the solutions for when people want to add on to their house is they add onto their system. They make the system larger so that the system matches the house that they want to have room wise.
Yeah.
So what is the will of the board? Mr. Baker.
Ma'am, do you have an as-built of your current septic system? And do you know if there might be additional area for another leach line to turn it into a 5 or 6 bedroom?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I think the town has that information.
It's probably in our files.
Yeah, I don't have that information.
Yep. Jim, have you looked at it or?
No, I mean, if you want to give me a couple of minutes, I can go downstairs and see if I can find it real quick.
Go ahead.
Sure,
I
it's up to you guys. Yeah.
If Jim, if you don't mind, I think that would be really helpful. If Tree, if you wouldn't mind, kind of, we can.
Oh, not at all. All of you are doing this, so why would I mind waiting?
We can keep you here, but we'll just have you we'll take a quick recess from the public hearing and we can move on to like our ID decision support tool and then come back to it.
Is that information going to change what we do with this public hearing right now?
I think if Jim looks at the system and goes, actually, it is the as-built is a 5 or
7.
If the as-built
or
is
could
actually
say
larger than we think it is.
correct. Yeah. So I mean, if he can come back and say it's a 5, or well, it says it's a 4, but perhaps having the engineer look at it or maybe see some options. I mean, this could be done offline as well. I think it's the will of the board if we'd like to take a few minutes and if Jim can pull it up quick and get an idea of going, nope, it's a 4, or it's a 4, but probably 4.5 or a 5, but it's listed as a 4. Perhaps an engineer could, reevaluate it and have a discussion, or it really is a 5 as an as-built and it's just no one ever looked at it closely because it's a 4-bedroom house. It's a system covers it and everybody just went, that's happy. We're fine. I think that'd be my only piece. I don't know if it'll change the outcome of this at all. Well, the board, if you'd like to a quick recess for this hearing, if Jim doesn't mind taking a peek and can bring some information back, or would you like to continue the hearing and come back at our next meeting? What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd love it if we can get an answer today. This way we can either stop or just, move on.
Okay. So I'm going to say let's have a brief recess to the public hearing for 5 Jillian. Ms. Greff, if you wouldn't mind, if you're willing to do so, take a quick peek and see if you have any additional information that might either help the board make a decision or help the homeowner make a decision, or both. That would be awesome.
Okay, I will be right back.
All right.
Thank you,
sir. I appreciate that. So while we're on recess from our 5 Jillian, Matt, if you are okay, looking at our ID decision support tool, or do we have any other comments, questions before we move to that?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Of course, Brenda.
I just pulled the file and I do have a copy of an installer's as-built I don't know how to read them that well, but this is from 2003. We don't have it online, but I could scan it. I'm not sure if Jim has an updated one in his office, but I do have an as-built in front of me.
All right. I think he has stepped away, so I can't ask what he has versus what we have. So
Okay.
let's give him a moment to come back.
Sure.
I was gonna say the house was built in 2003, so if that was the as-built, I can't. It would seem unlikely that there's been changes or updates since
Right.
then.
This is dated
So-
1503.
And if it was built at that time frame, it may have fallen under the 300 square foot size room counts of da 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 da. So it may have a 6-room septic system.
Yeah, because that master bedroom is big.
Yep.
I can look at it's a 1,500 gallon tank.
How
cover.
many gallons per day?
Yeah, okay.
And it'll
All right,
also,
we'll wait for
we'll wait for Jim.
we'll wait for Jim to come back. I
We can
apologize.
train
I know
train you over the air right now. Sorry.
I know, Matt, you just had it up. If you wouldn't mind bringing it back up, I apologize.
Tim's back.
Matt, I'm gonna put this to you. Well, how would you like it, Matt?
Tim's back. Tim's back.
Okay, thank you, Jim, for coming back.
Well, I just need to kind of, when houses,
Okay.
new houses get built, we often just get lot numbers. I got to sleuth it and make sure I get the right lot.
Okay, so we're gonna give Jim a moment to continue his review of the paperwork. And Mr. Waston, if you would not mind moving on to the ID decision support tool once
Always.
again.
Let's
I
go
would
over it
appreciate
again. Okay, folks, in today's COVID-19 news, there are a plethora of variants out there right now. I think 3 kind of newer ones that are popping over, a couple others in the world that are bouncing around. It's a time of kind of increasing transmission as we approach the fall, and there is concern about people going back to school, and is that going to bump up the transmission rates? And it seems like the standard news is every single variant they look at, they say, well, this is probably even more transmissible than the last one, but they're all still Omicron, so our existing vaccinations should be pretty good coverage. So our largest variant is actually XBB.1.5 at 16%. So that gives you an idea. That is the largest share of a variant, and the rest are all scattered 10, 12, 8, kind of stuff like that. So lots of different ones out there, which might make the picture a little murky in the fall if something really takes off. The good news is our 2-week case count is totally flat. We haven't had a case reported through official channels since June. That makes us feel good. Skip the vaccination because it's not up to date. The wastewater numbers are still kind of just hovering in the kind of 200 to 500 range in Boston. So that's not taking a big spike, which is good news. The updated kind of information on vaccinations is we still don't have an exact date for when the next COVID booster would be available. There's some chatter that it might be in mid-September, but they still have to get approved by the FDA, and then probably the CDC has to make a recommendation that everybody get one. But please keep it on your radar. Don't forget about it, and we'll try to keep you posted as best we can. But since we're only here every 2 weeks, we'll try to get some communication out if there's something updated and urgent that we can say. In other vaccination news, since we're on the topic, RSV is out recommended for those people who are 60 and older. So please put that on your calendar. And then flu season is coming. Recommendation on flu is you don't have to go out and get that right now. It's okay to wait till September, even October, till kind of the weather starts to cool and the season starts to ramp up. If you get it too soon, there's some concern that it might not last the whole season. So, but you could start making your appointments now. I know CVS has been pinging me through the app already to say I should make my appointments, but I'd like to wait till I can get all of my vaccinations at the same time so I can't use my arms for 2 days. I promote that idea. In other news, our herboviruses, we still are in low for both West Nile virus and Triple E. I'd actually kind of heard from a local resident that maybe there'd been a case of West Nile in a nearby community, but there is no official report on that from Massachusetts. So we are both still low. So keep swatting your mosquitoes, but not too high of concern with that right now. That's what I got.
All right. Any comments, questions for Mr. Wason from the ID decision support tool?
Yeah, nice job again as always. And the north MWRA is actually headed in the downward direction, which is good, and the south is kind of undulating back and forth. So, it's out there. It really is out there. I'm getting a lot of anecdotal evidence at work, and also anecdotal evidence at different places that I interface with across the country, that there are more people going out for COVID-19. So everybody should start to listen and look to where you're going. If you're indoors, you might want to think about in the back of your mind, should I be wearing a mask or not wearing a mask? And it's just something as a personal choice to go think about that and maybe carry one with you, whereas before we weren't carrying them around. So it's just something to think about.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Matt. Great job.
There are yep. I mean, there certainly still are cases out there. We had 16 COVID deaths in the last 7 days. It looks like our average age is pretty elderly, but it is still out there. And there's 31 patients in the ICU, 7 intubated, and 16 deaths still last week. So as much as we are all feeling better about it, it is still out there. And for our most vulnerable folks, they are still just as vulnerable as they were before, but maybe not quite thanks to our immunizations, but there are still lots of vulnerable folks out there that can get pretty sick. So please just be aware, recognize symptoms early. We do have some tools that we did not have a few years ago. So you recognize it early, access your healthcare providers early so that we can minimize the impact the best we can. All right. Thank you again, Matt. That was great. We appreciate all your work on this for so long and keeping it up. This is really helpful.
1,500 gallons.
All right. Mr. Gareffi, welcome back.
Thank you. So I did pull the file. The perk rate on the lot was pretty high. The lot is about just a tad over an acre. Looking at the plan, it's designed for a 4-bedroom. I'm not sure there's a lot of room to expand that, even if you wanted to. It's possible, probably with some of today's innovative technologies, if you want to do that, to maybe get 5 bedrooms out of it. But it would be, as opposed to adding a trench, it would probably be more like replacing the system with an IA so that you could expand it to a 5. Kind of my quick and dirty kind of opinion of what I'm looking at there on the plan.
No, we appreciate you going out of your way and pulling those up. So that brings us back to our original discussion as we return from our recess for 5 Jillian we have, returning to that screen, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus the basement makes 10 rooms. The requested would make room number 11 for the 4-bedroom system. What is the pleasure or will of the board?
So I make a motion that we decline to grant the deed restriction for the 11th room.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do a roll call vote. Kevin Baker.
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Kevin Davis.
Kevin Davis votes yes for the decline.
Gino Fratelloni.
You're throwing, okay. And besides that, they have a 1,500 gallons on a septic system. That's good.
Okay, Mr. Wason.
Wason, yes.
And chair votes yes as well. Mrs. Whelan, I hope you understand. We're sorry. We hope you understand. But
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
all right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your patience.
Yes.
We tried.
Yes. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So we've closed the public hearing for 5 Jillian Way. We have already addressed our 750 ID Decision Support Tool discussion. Administrative matters, we have 2 sets of meeting minutes which came out in the packet. Sorry, one moment, let me pull my dates back up again. We have the minutes for November 30, 2022, and we have the minutes for May 24, 2023. Has
Those,
anyone had a chance and opportunity to review them? I see hands up. Is that a
Oh, boy.
yes, I've seen them, or I have a question?
I have a question. In your absence, Dan, we talked about reviewing a possible process for electronic review of minutes and submitting edits. We didn't want to go over it without a full board, but if the group would like to, I know we're kind of way past agenda time, so I understand if people would rather tie this one up and we save it for the next time. But if you want, I can show it.
I would love to make forward progress in anything that we can make forward progress on. So I would love to see it personally.
Is that okay, all? Some head nods.
I think we have a generalized assent to yes.
Yeah. Okay. One sec.
and if we
So
are, I understand we're going to go to the online version of this. I appreciate that. I'm assuming that what you're talking about, the minutes are from the previous packet, not in the current packet, because the current packet does not have them.
I apologize. They were not in the packet. They were attached to the same email with this packet.
Right.
I apologize, but thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so I'm going to use one of the minutes that were sent out in that email as an example. Not that this has to be the final thing, but basically here is the OneDrive that we should all have access to. We all have our individual one. And so it's not shared yet, but this is, if we like this process, then give me the green light and I can help create it and then work with Brenda on how to get these files in the right place. So if I go to what is shared with me, then I see a meeting minutes folder. And if I go into the meeting minutes folder, ignore that agenda file, here are the November 30th meeting minutes. And all it would take for this process is we then go into that file and it opens up in Word online. And there's the notice that track changes is enabled. That's the key point. So that's whoever uploads it, that is Brenda, makes sure that the track changes are turned on. And therefore, as you go through and review the document, you can make a comment or make an edit. So just as an example, because there just wasn't a lot wrong with this minute, so I was trying to come up with something to say. So here I could say as a board member, I did the ID support tool. That data piece is in there. 63% of residents received a booster. Gosh, that feels wrong to me, but I'm not sure. If I go watch the presentation and see myself, then I think I could make a note here and say, no, the correction should be this, but I didn't have time to do that. So instead I just said, by highlighting and inserting a comment to say, I said, please check this percentage. I believe it should be lower than 40%. I can check this through the ID tool history as well. So that would be a note that I feel like when we come to this discussion, either somebody would say, yes, I watched the video and this is the correction, or no, Matt, you're wrong. This is exactly what you said. Great. And the person can go through and just say, approve this or reject it, and we can move on. And then another type would just be down here. You see there's a ways and motions to approve grant variance. So I just said, oh, grammatically, I would like to remove the word approve and just say ways and motions to grant the variances for reduction. So for me, that's a grammatical thing. I hope we wouldn't have to spend a lot of time on it. But if we're going through this as a board, like doing it like this in our meeting, if that's what people are thinking, then whoever is kind of in charge can just be going and click it and say, oh, okay, we'll click approve and just keep rocking through all of it. So the way I would see the process is the document gets posted here. We are notified that that's the case. We can each individually go and review it electronically here, make any notes or corrections that we want to make electronically, and then when it comes time for a meeting, Dan opens it up and scrolls through it and identifies all of those notes and potential changes and decides whether to just approve them or not. And I feel like if we click yes on everything, then we're done and we can vote on the approval of the minutes. If there's something that's still outstanding, then we're going to have to say, we've got to continue the approval of this because we have to go do some homework. I see some head nods over there on the right side. Yeah.
Mr. Davis, you have a comment?
A couple comments. One, or several things. We use a similar process for this at work with the U.S. government to go through and do reviews of official change control board documents and all kinds of fun things. So I would like to try to say that, definitely keeping in an idea that we are not making comments or discussions on other people's comments, that you just make comments on the pieces that are there in front of you. That's number one. Number two, that when we go through this, we walk through each of the changes, individual changes, grammatical changes like that in the sentence. I would take them as a suggestion to the board would be for a grouping of those. You would take them as a group and, make sure that it reads appropriately and all that kind of good stuff and approve them in that group. But definitely walking through each one of the comments and adjudicating the comments one by one as you go through the document is a common practice in a lot of different boards that I attend. So that's just something to give back. The other thing to give back is an organizational point to the layout of the files. I would definitely have a file system layout that has, we have the Board of Health minutes, and then, approved minutes, and then needs approval or something like that, some designation. So that way, when we're done with them, we move them into the approved folder. So that way Brenda knows to take them out of that and put them up in there. So that way, if we have other minutes that are still addressing, so we can kind of go through and take a look at each of those things. Those would be my comments. I really like this process, and I would like to see it move forward.
Key follow-up to that, Kevin, good points. Yes, we can say a subfolder of approved that we can throw stuff into. And the key point is when they are approved, they still get posted to the web page because that's the official then approved minutes in PDF format on the web, never to be edited again.
Amen. So moved.
Any other comments about the proposed minute review process? Mr. Baker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wason, for putting this together and having it all make sense. I really appreciate how efficient this will make things, and I look forward to putting it into use.
Okay. Based upon that, any further comments? Dan, Gina?
Thanks, Matt. Certainly my only piece would be we just need to be very, very careful that there's not discussions around the changes to the minutes in the track changes side, and that can be a slippery slope sometimes and a challenge. We just want to make sure that we are just really, really clear that we are not having a "did you mean this?" or "what do you think about that?" kind of discussions in the track changes comments. But I think that would be my only hesitation with this process, that it is not an open, visible discussion. But if we're keeping this really clear that it is just you spelled Kane wrong, that level of discussion is perfectly reasonable and appropriate. And I agree that it's a great opportunity to provide meaningful feedback for Brenda and for the rest of the board, and to make sure that things are reviewed appropriately. I'm all on board.
Or this kind of comment of I don't remember if I said that or something along that line. Yes, it should not be a discussion board. We're not having a conversation. I think that's also a good reason for us to actually display it during our meeting as we go through it, so there can be no concern that there's been something else going on. It's going to be right there. We're all going to see it. It's going to be broadcast, etc.
And I would make a suggestion: if someone feels like they disagree with an area of change or comment, to then copy said file and to make a separate comment in that area with your reasoning or your changes, so that way we can adjudicate both at the same time in the meeting.
So you should, if you went in here, Kevin Davis,
I-
and you saw this, you can highlight the same exact passage and right click and add your own comment
Amen.
so that it's parallel.
I agree. All I'm saying is that if someone has an issue, you could make a copy of the file and make the comment separately. If you're that worried, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying that there's a way to avoid the seesaw back forth sort of kind of thing, or the appearance thereof.
Okay. And I'm just saying, I would really not like to have copies created. Then the reconciliation becomes somebody's problem.
I understand. I'm just,
Where?
I'm just giving you,
I am.
as an opportunity for
What do you want me to do, sweetheart?
a way.
Jeez.
Okay, if we want to try it for a next one, then I will, Brenda, work with Brenda, and help lay it out and get it kind of launched when it makes sense for kind of the next minutes that we have that come up.
Can I chime in here, please, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair?
Of course, Brenda.
I do like the format. I think it's great. I would suggest that the changes or any comments of updating would be done prior and not live at a board meeting. So then when we present it as corrected behind the scene, we can present it as is, already corrected, ready to vote. Then have a live discussion on the meeting. Does that make sense?
Thanks, John. I guess my only question, and we'll open it back up to the board, would be,
Inside that drawer,
I
Do
apologize.
you mind muting Gino? I'm having a tough time.
I just did.
Thanks. Thank you.
Would be that I'm just not sure what the process would look like. So if we put in our comments and either questions or potential corrections, and it's done in the background, we just have to make sure that we all are able to go back in and see what those changes were and make sure we all agree. So we'll certainly look at that. Right now, we look at a draft copy and we make any feedback or changes and then approve it. Usually approve as amended. I'm just not sure what the flow would look like if we put them in and we just accept them automatic, or have you administratively accept them and then bring it back to the board. That would be my only question, is would we end up basically reviewing all the minutes twice? I'm just not positive what that workflow would look like, and would it make the workflow more complex by going through it, having Brenda administratively make changes or edits, unless there's some question that needs to come before the board for a change or an edit, and then, okay, do we agree with the changes and that's that were made in the background? Again, does that make sense as far as potential?
But that's what
Yes,
we
Matt.
do now. We look at it, we make the changes, you bring the edits to me, I change them, and then they're approved as amended or as is, rather than put it out here and we're having a discussion on all of the changes. So it's like we're having a live discussion on the minutes rather than just approving them.
I think that maybe the thing to do is to say non-content change, such as grammatical fixes. Yes, as people do them, if Brenda wants to just automatically approve those offline to make the document clean, I don't think there'd be any concern or debate about that. I think it's pretty rare that we actually have a content question or a content concern, but maybe that's the sort of thing that somebody should post it, like this one right here. If I post that, I wouldn't want that changed without somebody else knowing, just in case somebody else read it and didn't have a problem with it, if that makes sense. So I think our current asynchronous process doesn't actually help, because if we all send Brenda 5 different comments about the same sentence, we're going to have to discuss it either way. Again, I think it's a very small percentage of things that we actually need to change in the minutes. So would everybody be okay if it's little things like grammatical changes or a spelling error, if that can get approved offline in advance, but something that's a more specific discussion topic. And that way, when it comes time for our meeting, you're right, we would open it, scroll through it, see no boxes and say, unless there are any other changes, we're going to approve these.
Right.
I say we go for it. I like that. Let's just try it.
Yep, we put it out there. Brenda can go through and make those, kind of administrative side stuff. And if we have something that is more substantive, then that comes before the board, same as it would be any other time, whether we approve or edit our minutes. And now it's a documented process. It's not, oh wait, I meant to bring this up and I forgot, or in the moment of discussion, we've approved it, and oh wait, I meant to double check that number, and
Right.
it's too late.
Okay.
Yep, no, I think that sounds great. I think it's worth a process work, and it's much clearer. We're not throwing 5 emails at Brenda about the same thing.
So then maybe, if I may make a friendly comment about the layout of the directory structure, then is. Okay, I'll go ahead. Maybe we have a directory to be reviewed, which has all of the things that we need to review for Brenda. And then we have a directory that says to be presented, which is the ones that, Brenda's gone through and done all the edits behind and all that kind of good stuff. And we're doing that. And then the boxes or the gross edits that we need to have a discussion on, we do that in the to be presented. And then it kind of flows back and forth between those two until we approve it. And then it's in, at the close of the meeting or whatever, the person that's running through it drags it up into the approved. And then that's where Brenda then takes it and does the publishing, which goes to PDF and then gets pushed out to the website. So does that make sense to people?
I would just let's just keep it as simple as possible to start. And if we find that it's getting tricky to manage, then I think we should explore some other options.
Okay. I've got options.
I mean, when the process is flowing, it should be one at a time.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
2.
So along with this, Brenda and I had previously, many weeks or months ago, had talked about establishing a little more of a timeline for how this process will work. And I will include that when I send it out there will be a target date for when minutes would be posted here. And then there would be a target date for us to then submit our input so that Brenda then has time to make any of those edits prior to our official meeting. So we'll try to see how it goes. All right.
Nope, this is wonderful. Okay, so since I missed that last one, are we looking at these 2 minutes, or are we going to put these first 2 that were in the email with today's packet for our first trial run of this process through OneDrive? Or do we want to look at these 2 minutes and approve them tonight? What's the will?
But let's follow the normal process for tonight.
Okay. So has anyone had an opportunity to look at the 11:30:22 and the 5:24:23 minutes?
I have not. I apologize.
Okay. Gino looks like he's saying yes. Mr. Baker, Mr. Wason. Yes. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion for either the package of 11:30:22 and 5:24:23 as a pair or individually for minutes? Mr. Baker.
I just have an edit for 11:22, top of the second page. Baker motions to grant the variance with the placement of a deed restriction. I believe it says upon, it should say upon receipt instead of you pay on.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Any other edits for 11:30:22?
That actually is the one where I made that note of saying, is that percentage actually correct in terms of the vaccination or the COVID-19 booster rate for Littleton residents? Because it could have been, and I'm sorry, Brenda, I did not have time to go check the video or look at my file.
That's okay.
But if we could, I have no problem doing an approval that provided we just fact check that number.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the November 30, 22 minutes as edited with that one caveat that we're going to double check the percentage in paragraph 1 under COVID-19 update.
A second.
All right, there we go. So we're going to do roll call vote for 11:30:22. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Kevin Davis,
Thane,
Gino Fratelloni,
Gino Fratelloni, yes.
Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
and chair votes yes. So we've approved the minutes as amended, and with again that one caveat to just double check the percentage in that first paragraph for November 30, 22. Do we have any comments, questions, concerns, edits, or motions for the May 24, 2023 minutes? I don't see anyone with comments, corrections. Do we have any motion to accept the minutes of May 24, 2023 as proposed?
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Roll call vote. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker abstains.
Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis abstains. Sorry.
Gino Fratelloni,
Gino Fratelloni sustain.
we'll continue the roll call vote, but Matt Wason
Matt Wason, yes.
and chair votes yes. Unfortunately, it does not move. The motion is not passed. So we will, Brenda will keep the May 24, 2023 minutes in the queue for evaluation at our next board meeting, which again, I think I looked earlier was the 13th of September. We're down to correspondence, board member updates, or any public input. Anyone have anything they would like to share on any of those items?
No.
Okay, Mr. Wason,
Nothing else.
nothing else. Mr. Davis,
Good to go.
Mr. Baker,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fratelloni.
That's it. Everything's okay.
All right,
Nice,
anything from our
nice.
professional staff, Mr. Greffy or Brenda?
We're getting, as the sewer line is fast being installed in town, again, people are requesting what the process will be for a Title V waiver process. Can we put that on your next agenda for a conversation about reviewing, approving, just so we get, I mean, I don't know, I can resend the Lunenburg process out if that would be helpful, so people at least had an idea of it, but I just want to try to get it on the books if we could for discussion.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Brenda, would you mind adding that to the September 13 agenda?
Nothing.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, and Chair, I think the only thing I have is to thank. We have one attendee in the audience continuing on. We have a scout who is working on his communications merit badge, and part of his requirement is to attend a public hearing and listen to different points of view, how things are discussed and presented for information. So we appreciate for him sticking out for our 2-hour meeting, and hopefully he learned some great things and hopefully didn't learn too many bad habits from our discussion. So thank you to our scout for sticking it out, and certainly feel free to reach out to any of the members of the board if you have any questions. If we have no other comments, questions, concerns, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Sure.
I think I heard Mr. Baker first this time. So we have a motion
A second.
and a second. All right, roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker says yes, votes yes.
Mr. Davis,
Mr. Davis votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni,
Mr. Fratelloni say yes, and I hope everything is okay with you guys. We'll see
thank you,
soon.
sir. Mr.
Enjoy the
Wason,
weekend.
Matt Wason, yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you all for all your work. Mr. Gareffi, Brenda, thank you so much for being here and supporting us. Thank you, Dave from LCTV.
And
And we'll see everybody in 3 weeks.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.